Hello everybody, welcome again to the lecture series on satellite communication. We are studying antenna subsystem in the satellite communication system. So yesterday already we have started about the antenna subsystem, some part is over. Now we will see the remaining thing, and before going to see the next one, we will see the revision of the previous topic, that is regarding again antenna subsystem only. Quickly I will complete this one. We have seen yesterday what is antenna, and I have taken one block diagram like this. Here transmitter is there. The last stage of the transmitter is the transmitting antenna, and from this we are transmitting into the free space. At the receiver side, the first block is receiving antenna, that is this one, and here receiver is there. Like this we have taken, and the channel is free space. And with this concept we have defined the antenna in different ways. And as I said in the last class, the antenna we can remember easily, the definition is RRR. That means antenna is the device which can radiate, receive radio waves. Like that we can able to remember that one. That is the definition of the antenna, like that we can tell. And if you see this concept, transmitter, it is attached to the transmitting antenna, the receiving antenna is attached to the receiver. So here modulation process, low pass filter, all those things will be there, encoding, quantization, sampling, all those processes will be done in the transmitter level. So finally here you will get the modulated signal, but that is the electrical signal. But in the free space, EM waves should travel. So this electrical signal is converted to EM waves, by using this antenna, that is transmitting antenna. And EM waves are fall on the receiving antenna, and these EM waves are converted to electrical signals by using this receiving antenna. So this electrical signal, the converted electrical signal will be sending through to the demodulator and the further blocks in the receiver. So if you see orally, the electrical signal is converted to EM wave by using this particular antenna called transmitting antenna. And here the EM waves are converting into electrical signals by using receiving antenna. So I can tell now the antenna is a transducer that is converting one form of energy into another form of energy, that may be electrical to electromagnetic or electromagnetic to electrical energies. So in this way also we can define. And one more thing is, the input for the antenna is 50 ohms. The output of the antenna is, because here free space is there, the free space impedance is 377 ohms or 120 pi ohms. So in this way we can define. So here impedance is transforming from 50 ohms to 377 ohms. So I can say antenna is impedance transformer. So till now we have seen three different properties of the antenna. Those are: antenna can radiate, receive radio waves. Antenna is working as the transducer, that is converting electrical to electromagnetic or electromagnetic to electrical energy. Then antenna is converting the impedance also, that is 50 ohms to 377 ohms also. Free space impedance also it is converting. All these things yesterday we have seen. So quickly I am going. Next is, antenna is a reciprocal device. Reciprocity property is followed by the antenna. That means the same antenna can be using as the transmitting antenna and receiving antenna. Next to radiation pattern. About this one we have discussed much about this one. Actually the radiation pattern is 3D plot. 3D plot. By cutting that 3D plot horizontally and vertically, we will get a 2D plot. And this 2D plot can be drawn as a rectangular form or as a polar form. In this way we can able to define. So if you take one isotropic antenna that can able to radiate the EM waves in all directions equally. So if you take all the points at certain amount of distance, if you connect all the radiation points, you will get a sphere. Okay, so the radiation pattern of that particular isotropic antenna is a sphere, like that you can able to get. Okay, because that is isotropic antenna in all directions, that is radiating equally. But if you take any practical antenna, cannot able to radiate equally in all directions. Okay, any practical antenna can able to radiate maximum in one particular direction, and in remaining directions lesser amount of radiation is there as compared to that maximum radiation, or in some directions zero amount of radiation is available. Yesterday we have seen about that one. For example, if you consider this type of radiation pattern, it is polar form I am using. So in this direction I am taking the maximum amount of radiation, maximum radiation, and here 0 radiation is there, and then here somewhat larger radiation is there, and again it is becoming 0, and again here one more lobe I am taking. All these things are lobes, and here it is 0, here it is 0, and throughout this angle is 0 only. So like this we can able to take the radiation pattern. So this is 2D plot only, but it is represented in particularly polar form. But if you take the rectangular form, here I am taking that one. Rectangle means again I am taking here on x-axis theta or phi I need to take, and this is theta is equal to 0, theta 30, theta 60, theta 90, like this up to 180 you can take, and it is 0, it is minus 30, minus 60, minus 90. For example, we can take like this. From minus 30 to plus 30, the main lobe is available like this. That means exactly at theta is equal to 0, maximum amount of radiation is there. In which direction? Theta means we can tell that is direction only. So in which direction maximum amount of radiation is there? That is called bore site. That is called bore site direction. Okay. So I can tell the radiation pattern means it is the plot, it is the graph of radiation pattern, means it is a graph of the received signal strength of the antenna with respect to the angle. I can define the radiation pattern like this. Okay, received signal strength means that can be power, that can be electric field, or that can be magnetic field. Okay, so in this way we can able to define. So bore site also I have already told to you. So in this diagram you can able to observe the same thing what I told here. Theta is taken on the x-axis, and power or electric field or magnetic field can be taken on the y-axis. It is in the rectangular form. So at theta is equal to 0, maximum amount of radiation is there. As we go right side, the energy is decreasing or the power is decreasing like this. Okay, and here maximum amount of radiation is there, that is at theta is equal to 0. As theta is increasing, the energy is decreasing and becoming to 0 here. Okay, so at some point I can say the power is becoming off. For example, here 10 watts amount of power is maximum it is radiating. So what is off of that one? 5 watts. So here I can get, for example, here 5 watts is there, and this side also 5 watts is there. Like this we have taken. So 5 watts is available up to what amount of angles that we have to consider. So at a theta is equal to 1 and minus 1, the power is becoming 0. Here nulls are available. This is nulls. And exactly at theta is equal to 0, 10 watts amount of power is there. But at what angle? The power is becoming off of the maximum value. That means 10 by 2 means here it is becoming 5, and here also it is becoming 5. Like this we can able to take. So the width of the angle for which the power is becoming off, the width of the angle the power is becoming off is called off power beam width, is called off power beam width. It is the width of the angles where the power is becoming off. We can tell that is the off power beam width, represented with the theta bandwidth. Like this, off power bandwidth. Like this we can represent, or theta 3 dB also we can represent. Why should we represent with 3 dB? Means here power is becoming off. If you make that off, that means 1 by 2 into dB, that will become 3. So theta 3 dB means that is representing off power beam width only. Okay, theta 3 dB means off power beam width. In the problems also, if I mention theta 3 dB is equal to, for example, 17 degrees, then you need to consider that is the off power beam width only. Okay, then now just now I have defined about the off power beam width. Now we will see about radiation intensity. Yesterday already we have discussed about this one. Once again you see, radiation intensity means it is the amount of radiated power, the amount of radiated power per unit solid angle. So in the last class I have given the explanation about the normal angle and solid angle, and the normal angle is given in terms of the radians. and the solid angle is given in terms of the steradians. Okay, normal angle is related to the circle, and this solid angle is related to the sphere. Okay, and the definition of angle is given by angle is equal to arc length. Angle is equal to arc length. What is this arc length? Arc length by radius. This is the formula for the angle. If you take this circle, here origin is there. Okay, center of the circle is available, and from this if you take like this, this is r, this is r, and this is becoming the arc length. Because of this theta angle, this arc length is created. This arc length is created because of this theta angle. Okay, so this angle is represented as, it is a ratio of this arc length and the radius. Radius is fixed. Whether you are taking any point on this circle from the center, the same distance you will get, that is called radius only. That's why angle is equal to arc length by radius. And in case of this sphere, you assume it is sphere. Don't see here circle, you assume the sphere, and the sphere center is available here, for example, sphere center. And here if you extend the pattern like this, if you extend from the center the pattern towards the surface of the sphere, then here you will find a certain amount of spherical curve you will get. Spherical curve you will get on the surface of the sphere, and it must be r and r. It must be r and r. Here how we have taken r, here also r we need to take. So because here the area is formed, okay, it is length. On the circle length will be formed. Okay, on the center, on the circle length will be formed, but on the sphere what will be formed here? Like conical shape you have to take. Okay, you assume here center is available, here center is available, so within that sphere expanding the angle like this, because here certain amount of solid angle theta is available. For example, you assume that is theta, actually that is represented with d omega or omega. Okay, it is represented with d omega, differential solid angle. Okay, so you assume here one sphere is there, and in here what is there? Center of the sphere is there. I am extending this r with the r and r. This is the angle, so I am extending like this towards the surface of the sphere. Then you will get this type of nature you will get on the surface of the sphere. Okay, whatever the area is covered by all these fingers. Okay, by extending like this, okay, like this, you can able to see here solid angle is available. Okay, then certain amount of area is there here. Then the solid angle is defined by solid angle is equal to this particular area by r square. So you see the difference between the angle and the solid angle. Angle is equal to arc length by radius, but here solid angle is equal to area by whatever the subtended area is there, that area by r square we have to take. Here r is fixed. Okay, radius r is fixed. Here r square is fixed. Okay, then here for example you assume this is the radiation pattern of the antenna. Now you come to the antenna. Here this is isotropic antenna is there at the center of the sphere, and certain amount of angle we have taken, we are extending like this. Here in the definition of the radiation intensity, it is the power. First of all, it is the power, amount of radiated power. So the radiation intensity is also measured in watts only. Power is measured in watts, radiation intensity is also watts only, because that is also radiated power only, but per unit solid angle. For example, if you consider this is isotropic antenna, it is radiating in all the directions. It is radiating in all the directions equally. That's why the sphere has been created. Okay, but whenever you are taking here per unit solid angle, you should not take total power. You should not take total power. We have to take the radiated power for only this solid angle only, for unit solid angle. Here what is the unit solid angle? This become 1. Solid angle is equal to 1. Denominator is fixed r square. This has to be changed. In order to make this fraction is 1, the area must be equal to r square. If this area is equal to r square, then whatever the angle is there here, that is called one solid angle. So for one solid angle, okay, totally it is radiated. For example, entire this room is radiated by using this particular isotropic antenna. I am here, for example, you assume I am the isotropic antenna. My speech signal is going in all the directions. Okay, isotropically it is going in all the directions equal, but you should not take total amount of the speech signal power. Okay, whatever the power is radiated by using me, whatever the power is radiated equally in all the directions, so you should not consider the total power. You should consider only certain amount of portion you need to take, like a solid angle. I am here, Okay, antenna is here. So from the center, you need to take unit solid angle only. If you extend like this, that roof will be subtended by this particular amount of area only. Okay, this particular area only it will be available. So through that area, how much power is radiated, that is called radiation intensity. Okay, so radiation intensity means first of all that is the power, but not total power radiated. It is the amount of power radiated per unit solid angle only. It is not total power. Okay, per unit solid angle, how much amount of power is radiated, that is the radiation intensity. The first thing you need to remember about the radiation intensity is, don't think that it is different from the power. Okay, you need to understand the first thing is radiation intensity is also the power. So it is also having the units of watts only. And this EMTL and antenna subject can be understand, even though we are studying our satellite communication, this topic is purely related to the antennas only. Okay, so antenna subsystem which is available in the satellite communication systems we are studying. So here the radiation intensity means it is also power measured in watts. Okay, then per unit solid angle we are taking. Then coming to this directivity, d of theta comma phi. Why should we take here d of theta comma phi? Even for the radiation intensity also I have represented with p of theta comma phi. Okay, I have represented with p of theta comma phi, and in some textbooks you will find u of theta comma phi. Okay, the radiation intensity is also represented using the letter u, capital U of theta comma phi. And if you see this directivity and gain, these are also represented with within the bracket theta comma phi they have given. What is the reason for that one? Okay, so from the signals and systems onwards, from your second year onwards, you can able to understand that if anything I have represented like this, f of x or f of theta, okay, or x of t, like this, if you represent, what is the meaning of this one? Okay, you need to talk about this for some time. Okay, f of x, what do you understand with that one? F of x is a signal or the mathematical function, f is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable. If you draw the rectangular plot for this one, this x variable should be taken on the x axis, this f variable should be taken on the y axis. For each value of x, the value of f is defined. So if you add all those points, then you will get the relationship in between these two. Okay, that is the thing I can tell. So similarly, you see here only one variable is given within the bracket. That means this is one dimensional signal. It is depending on only one independent variable, that is x. And here it is also one dimensional signal, and that is depending on the only one independent variable, theta. And it is also one dimensional signal. Why these three are one dimensional signals? Because these three are depending on only one independent variable. Okay, similarly if you see here d of theta comma phi, g of theta comma phi and p of theta comma phi means what? Within the bracket two variables are there, means this particular d is depending on two independent variables, theta and phi. That is the meaning of that one. So I can tell it is a two dimensional signal because it is depending upon the two independent variables, theta and phi. So in which direction maximum amount of directivity is available, or in which direction minimum amount of directivity is available, or in which direction zero amount of directivity is available. So all those things are different. That's why we have to include here the variables. If you don't include the variable, the d value is always 1 only. Okay, for which antenna it is possible? I can take d is equal to one fixed value. For which type of antenna? Only for isotropic antenna I can consider d is equal to some constant, g is equal to some constant, like that I can take. But here we should, for all the practical antennas, we should represent d of theta comma phi and g of theta comma phi and p of theta comma phi only, because with respect to angle the radiated power is different. Okay, here you see the amount of radiated power per unit solid angle. That solid angle, whatever the solid angle you are considering, that may be towards the maximum radiation. If you see this diagram, you assume it is the radiation pattern of one particular practical antenna. Okay, so in this direction, if you see while measuring this radiation intensity, if you can able to see in this direction, then you will find the maximum amount of radiated power. But if you see towards this side, okay, towards this side if you consider, here no power is radiated, so the radiation intensity in this particular direction is equal to 0. So for what value of theta and for what value of phi you are measuring the radiation intensity is very important. So the values of theta and phi should be taken very accurately, very properly you have to consider while measuring whether it is directivity or gain or radiation intensity. Actually radiation intensity is required to calculate these two, directivity and gain. Okay, so in all directions the radiation intensity or the directivity or the gain are not equal for the any practical antenna. So while considering the calculations of radiation intensity or the directivity or the gain, you need to taken care very much in which direction maximum radiation intensity is there or in which direction the radiation is maximum, like that you need to take. Okay, so in that particular direction only you have to measure, then only you will get the maximum radiation. Okay, maximum radiation calculations can be done properly, otherwise you will get the wrong results you will get. Okay, now we will see what is directivity. Actually this directivity is related to the focusing capacity. The focusing capacity. It depends on why should I have more focusing capacity, means it depends upon the application. In my application I want only point to point communication, only from one user to another user I need to communicate. I no need to communicate from one user to, from the source to, I no need to communicate to for a large region to all the India, to all the people who are available in India. I need to transmit the data in the sense that is not point to point communication, that is broadcasting. Okay, so depends upon the application whether it is point to point communication or the broadcasting, we need to looking for this directivity. When you want point to point communication, okay, the narrow beams are required. At that time the directivity must be very high. Okay, if the directivity is high, then I can say the focusing capacity of that particular antenna is good. The focusing capacity is good, like that we need to take. Okay, then coming to this gain of the practical antenna. So before going to see what is gain, first we will see the mathematical expressions for the directivity. So the directivity means already I told it is about the focusing capacity of the antenna. So directivity of theta comma phi is equal to, it is defined in terms of the radiation intensity. I can use capital P or U, whatever it may be. So U of theta comma phi by the average value of U of theta comma phi of the isotropic antenna. You are talking about practical antenna. Okay, you are talking about the practical antenna. The directivity of one particular practical antenna we are defining now. So for this practical antenna, how much amount of radiation intensity is there? Radiation intensity of practical antenna by the average radiation intensity. The average radiation intensity of the isotropic antenna with the same power is given. Okay, you have two antennas now. While defining this directivity or gain, you need to consider two antennas. One is your antenna for which you need to calculate the directivity. Another one is the isotropic antenna. Actually isotropic antenna is the ideal one. Okay, so whatever the amount of power you are giving as input to your practical antenna, same input you try to give for the isotropic antenna also. So with this input, your practical antenna is giving certain amount of radiation intensity. With the same input, the isotropic antenna is also giving certain amount of radiation intensity. The ratio of these two will be taken as the directivity. Okay, the ratio of these two will be taken as a directivity. So it is equal to, I can rewrite like this: d of theta comma phi for the practical antenna, d of theta comma phi is equal to U of theta comma phi. What is U of theta comma phi? The radiation intensity of the practical antenna for which we are calculating the directivity by, I can write here Pt by 4 pi. Pt by 4 pi. Like this I can able to take the average radiation intensity. Already we have seen what is the power flux density, what is the received power, all those things we have seen. So according to that one, I can write the denominator, the average radiation intensity of the isotropic antenna can be taken as Pt by 4 pi. Okay, then we can rewrite this one as 4 pi into U of theta comma phi by PT. So in this way we can give the equation for the directivity of the practical antenna. Now coming to gain of the practical antenna. So there is a relation between directivity and the gain of the practical antenna. How can we get that relation also I will tell here. So gain of the practical antenna G of theta comma phi. When I give here within the bracket two variables are there, means it is a two-dimensional thing. That means the gain is depending on theta and phi. For particular values of theta and phi it can be maximum. For another values of theta and phi it can be 0 or it can be minimum or in between minimum and maximum. So depends upon theta and phi the value will be changed. So the definition of or the mathematical equation of this gain and directivity are somewhat similar. So see carefully. It is equal to the gain of theta comma phi is equal to radiation intensity of the practical antenna for which you are calculating here also the gain of the practical antenna only. So when you need the gain of the practical antenna, it is equal to radiation intensity of the practical antenna, that means same antenna. For which antenna you are calculating the gain, for that antenna only you have to take the radiation intensity by, you see the equation of this one. Here we are using PT by 4 pi. Instead of taking the PT by 4 pi, you should take here PA by 4 pi. This is the only thing you have to consider when you go for gain. Okay, and when you want to compare this gain and directivity, this is the change you need to apply. Here PT is there and here PI is there. What is PT? Transmitted power. What is PI? Input power. If you take one device, it is an antenna, the amount of power is given as input to this one is represented with PI, and because of the some losses available in the antenna, some power will be utilized for that losses and remaining power will be transmitted. So always this PT is lesser than the PI only. Always this PT is lesser than the PI because some power is wasted here. So I can tell if I give here 10 watts, for example 1 or 2 watts is used here, means here 9 or 8 watts you will get. So PT is always lesser than PI. So while defining this gain, you should use here PI only, input only. So in general for the amplifiers we know what is voltage gain, output voltage by input voltage, like that we can able to take. So here radiation intensity of the practical antenna means it is output quantity by total how much amount of average radiation intensity we are giving as input, that we need to consider here. So the only change we have to consider for the directivity is here transmitted power we need to use, and for the gain we have to use here PI. Okay, so that is the change you have to observe, and it is equal to, I can rewrite this equation as 4 pi into radiation intensity of the practical antenna for which we are calculating the gain by PI. Okay, in those losses, whatever the losses I have told, those losses we can able to incorporate in the efficiency formula. So actually this PT, I told it is lesser than the PI. The relationship between PT and PI is given like this. Okay, from the basics of the antennas you can able to get all these things. So PT is equal to efficiency into PI, and this efficiency is maximum is 100%, that is ideal case, that is not possible. So certain amount of loss is available, that means this eta is less than 100%. So if you convert into fraction, it may be 0.8, 0.9, 0.6, 0.5 like that only. So when you multiply this PI with the fraction which is less than 1, compulsory you will get this entire thing is less than PI only. So PT is less than PI, the transmitted power is less than the input power. So in this way we can able to rewrite this one in terms of like this also. Now we are going to get the relationship in between the gain and directivity. So in this equation you apply this one. So gain of gain is equal to, this numerator is same, in place of PI I need to write eta into, I need to write PT by eta. So when I write here PT by eta, that eta is coming to the numerator. Now the remaining entire thing is looking like a D. So this is the relation I can give. G is equal to eta D. G is equal to eta D is the important equation you have to consider. That is gain is equal to efficiency into directivity. So in this way we can able to define all these things. Okay, you might be wonder, we are studying about the satellite communication, but I am teaching here all the antennas. This is the thing is available in the antenna subsystem. Okay, you need to know about the properties of the antennas which are going to be used in our antenna subsystem in the satellite communication subsystem. Now another formula is given here for the gain, that is 4 pi into AE by lambda square. It is equal to 4 pi into AE by lambda square. First you compare with respect to units. Okay, gain means it is the ratio of the two radiation intensities. So radiation intensity means power. So ratio means there is no units for the gain. If you take the ratio, no units, but we can able to write this one using the decibels. Okay, that is another thing. But when you consider the ratio, it is having no units because it is the ratio of two radiation intensities. It is equal to 4 phi is one constant that is having no units. It is AE, effective aperture area means meter square, that is area meter square. Lambda is the wavelength measured in meter. So lambda square means here also meter square. So this is also meter square means no units. So no units is equal to no units, so the equation is satisfied. So what we can able to understand from this one? What we can able to understand in the sense, here the gain is proportional to effective aperture area. Already we can able to understand that one. If you take the parabolic antenna, you consider in the receiving side, it is the parabolic antenna, this is the parabola. Whenever this area is very larger, it can able to receive large number of information, it can able to receive large amount of information, so its gain is more. When this effective area is very smaller, if you take smaller antenna like this with less effective area, then its gain will be smaller. So the gain is directly proportional to the area, effective aperture area, and that's why we can able to give here g of theta comma phi is equal to, it is directly proportional to the area. Okay, then this lambda is equal to c by f, you can able to write like that, and you can get the relationship between frequency and gain also. Okay, then theta 3 dB is equal to 75 d by lambda, and I am using this equation, and you consider this parabola antenna only, parabolic reflecting antenna only, and this is in the form of the circle. That's why this effective aperture area I can write like this, 4 pi into this effective aperture area is the outer boundary of this parabola is looking like a circle. So area of that circle is pi r square by lambda square. It is equal to 4 pi into pi is pi square. Next r can be written as diameter by 2. Okay, radius means diameter by 2. D square, 2 square, and here lambda square, and it is equal to, I can write 4 pi square by lambda square. It is 2, that means, sorry, this one and this one will be cancelled. Now the 4 is not available. Pi square d square by lambda square, like this we can able to write. Okay, so in this way also we can able to write a gain equation. Okay, and half power beamwidth, theta 3 dB means I told already, why should we represent like this, 3 dB, that is half power, that 1 by 2 if you convert into dB, that will become 3. So theta 3 dB is equal to, we can write 75 d by lambda, and from this gain plot, okay, from this gain equation we can write what is lambda by d. We can write what is lambda by d from this one. It is equal to pi square d by lambda whole square. It is equal to gain actually, and from this you get the value of this lambda by d, substitute here, then you will get the relation between gain and half power beamwidth. Half power beamwidth is available, sorry, the gain is available in the form of d by lambda or lambda by d, whatever it may be, and half power beamwidth is available in terms of lambda by d. So you can bring that lambda by d value from the gain equation. That means you are going to get the equation in terms of gain in terms of half power beamwidth. So it is important one for doing the problems. It will be helpful very much. Okay, so G is equal to, here the efficiency value you can take for the practical antenna, you can take approximately 60 60% means you need to write eta is equal 0.6. Next pi square is constant, 75 square is constant. So if you do the calculation, you will get G in terms of half power beam width, that is 33,310 by half power beam width square. Like this you will get. Okay, this is the equation you have to remember to do the problems. No problem. Okay, so here already I have given the formulas. Gain means 4 pi A by lambda square. Half power beam width means this one you have to remember 75 lambda by D. And finally this equation is important to calculate the gain. When you have half power beam width, to calculate the gain, that formula is required. G of theta comma phi is equal to 33,310 by theta 3 dB square, half power beam width square. Okay. Now we will see the problem. For a global beam, so here it was mentioned, from the problems also you can get the knowledge. Okay, so you need to see the problem very carefully. So it is a global beam means very wide beam. Okay, the satellite at GSO subtends 17 degrees angle. So it is a half power beam width they have given, half power beam width, or it is equal to theta 3 dB is equal to 17 degrees. Assuming this is theta 3 dB, already we have taken that one. What will be the satellite angle diameter? We have to calculate diameter D. At f is equal to, frequency they have given 4 gigahertz. So if we know f, we can calculate lambda. Lambda is equal to c by f. It is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second by 4 giga means 4 into 10 power 9. Calculate that one, get the value of lambda. Then what will be the gain? Gain also we have to calculate. We need to calculate two things here. Okay, one is diameter, second one is gain. These two things we have to calculate, and they have given f value. From that we got the lambda. That means we have now lambda value and half power beam width we have. So simply we can able to calculate first D value. So what is the formula? Theta 3 dB is equal to 75 lambda by D. 75 lambda by D. Here already I have given the formula. Theta 3 dB. This is half power beam width that was given as the 17 degrees. That is equal to 75 lambda by D. So lambda already here we have calculated. So from this we can get the D value. So diameter is over. This one already we have calculated now. That is, calculation is over. Now next one, what we need to calculate? Gain we need to calculate. And if you have half power beam width, gain also we can calculate directly. So use this formula. G is equal to 33,310 by theta 3 dB square. Use this formula, get the value of G. So over, the problem is over. Here you need to get diameter is equal to 0.33 m, that means meters, and G is equal to 20.6 dBi. If you use this formula, you will get, without dB you will get it. Then you can able to convert that into dB. Okay. So final answer is 20.6 dB. Okay. Now next problem. Satellite antenna makes 5 degrees to cover the India. Okay. That means that we can consider as a half power beam width, that is equal to theta 3 dB is equal to 5 degrees. This is the information they have given. And surrounding ocean and neighboring countries. Okay, to cover the India and surrounding ocean and neighboring countries, the antenna makes 5 degrees. What will be the satellite antenna diameter and gain? Same thing, same calculations we have to perform here also. That is D and G. These two things we have to calculate. At frequency they have given 4 gigahertz. So in the previous problem also same frequency is there. So same value of lambda you will get for the previous problem and this problem. That is lambda is equal to C by F. That is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 by 4 giga, 4 into 10 power 9. So you will get something in meters. Okay, in the previous problem we got 0 point something like that. Next, here half power beam width is 5 degrees. In the previous problem they have given 17 degrees, now 5 degrees. So with this we have now half power beam width is there, lambda is there, we can calculate D. What is the formula to calculate D? Half power beam width theta 3 dB is equal to 75 lambda by D. lambda is available, theta 3 dB is available, you can get the D value, it is over. Now coming to G, G is equal to, the formula is 33,310 by theta 3 dB square. Theta 3 dB square is 5 they have given now. Okay, so use that one and get the value of G. Answer will be 31.24 dBA. Okay, calculation you can do. So what you are understanding here by comparing the previous problem and this problem, in the previous problem half power beam width is given as theta 3 dB is given as 17 degrees. Then we got certain value of gain. Gain is equal to, how much did we get? Around 20. That is 20 dB. Now in this problem, theta 3 dB is equal to 5 degrees only. Gain is 31 dB we got. So we can able to understand that these two are related to this theta 3 dB. So half power beam width is equal to 17 degrees. At that time you have certain amount of gain, and here this half power beam width is reduced. Okay, this half power beam width is reduced means the gain is increased. The gain is increased. Whenever half power beam width is decreased, gain is increasing. If gain is increasing, you can tell directivity is also increasing, because gain is equal to eta into directivity. This one already we have seen, gain is equal to eta into directivity. So if G is increasing, D is also increasing for the same antenna with the same with the same radiation efficiency eta. So we can tell now this half power beam width is decreasing means D is decreasing. What is D? Focusing capacity. Whenever the beam width, half power beam width is decreasing, the focusing capacity of the antenna is increasing. Okay, beam width means the range of angles where the power is becoming off. That means that width is larger. When the width is larger, we can say the focusing capacity is smaller. When width is minimum, when the width is very small, then that is narrow beam. Narrow beam means its focusing capacity, it can able to send the radiation to the larger distances. So always remember, half power beam width and directivity or gain are opposite to each other. When half power beam width is low, then I can tell the focusing capacity is more. That means directivity is more and gain is more. This is the thing you need to understand from these problems. Not doing only simply by substituting the values in the equations, that is not the thing. You need to get the what we have understood from that problem. So from the problem only we can understand that in the first problem they have given as a globally. That means satellite antenna can be global. That means it can cover total earth, or it can cover certain amount of regional. That means only for India it can be used, or only for certain person also we can able to send. That is mobile communication, point to communication. That means only for that mobile only we can able to send the information. That means point to point communication where the large amount of directivity is required. Broadcasting can be done or point to point communication can be done. So such type of antennas we are using. Next, it can be shaped to reduce the wastage of the radiation into the unwanted areas. I want to send the information only for the people who are available in Andhra Pradesh. So I don't want to send my radiation, I don't want to waste my radiation nearby states. So that means the focusing capacity should be more, that should be surrounding only for the targeted people only or targeted area only. That can be done by increasing the directivity. Actually that can be done by increasing the directivity, means again we can tell the focusing capacity should be more. This can be done actually by going for arrays. By using the single antenna, if you can't able to achieve, then you need to go for arrays. By keeping the antennas side by side, by connecting those two antennas with the same input, the focusing capacity or the directivity will be improved. Then I can tell only for certain amount of direction only our radiation is going from the antenna, the radiation is going, then we can able to avoid the wastage of the radiation. So as I said, by using the array we can able to increase the radiation. And now polarization concept. This polarization concept is very important. Even you have designed a good antenna for your satellite, okay, the antennas are used in the in the earth station and also on the satellite. Even though you have designed a good nature of antenna, but if you don't properly orient that one, then there is no use. Because for example, two antennas I have taken, those two antennas are vertically polarized. That means polarization means what? The orientation of the electric field. The electric field orientation is like this. For example, it is vertical polarization. And another antenna is there. From this antenna, the information should be taken by this antenna. That means in my case now, it is a transmitting antenna, it is the receiving antenna. Now both are vertically polarized. I designed vertically polarization only, but the orientation I have given like this for this one. Then all the whatever the electric field is there, that electric field is going like this towards the receiving antenna, but here the effective aperture area is not in such a way that to receive this coming in EM wave. If it is available like this, then whatever the EM wave is coming, that will be received by using this effective aperture area of the antenna, then total without any wastage the radiation can be transferred here. Then whatever the receiving antenna is there, that can able to receive total EM wave. But instead of keeping this antenna or orienting this antenna in a proper position like this, if you orient like this, then that will be the problem. Okay, at that if you want to orient like this only, then you should not design with the property of the vertical polarization. You should design with a horizontal polarization. Okay, if it is also like this, both are horizontal, it will come like this. Okay, so instead of avoid this problem, one is horizontal and one is this vertical, you need to take the circular polarization. Whatever the orientation of the receiving antenna, if the transmitting antenna is with the circular polarization, means it is coming like this. For example, if you keep like this, it is vertical, it is circular polarization, the electric field vector is moving like this, then in compulsory it will be received by this receiving antenna. If the receiving antenna is like this also, vertically it is oriented also, if the transmitting antenna is circularly polarized, then in this case also it will be received by this particular receiving antenna. So it is better to go for the circular polarization if you are not able to keep certain polarization for the orientation of the receiving antenna. If you want to leave the orientation of the receiving antenna, you should go for the circular polarization only. But the disadvantage of the circular polarization is, it is having, the circular polarized antenna is having two components, Ex and Ey. For example, because the radiation is divided into two components, half power will be given for the X component, half power will be given for the Y component. So half of the power will be wasted. So in order to overcome that one, we should go for the single polarization only, like vertical or horizontal linear polarization we have to go. But already I told about the disadvantage of the linear polarization. If you want to use the linear polarization only, both should be vertical, okay, and orientation also you should take care of that one. If you don't take care of the orientation of the receiving antenna, at that time you should have the circular polarization for your transmitting antenna. And here you can able to observe that one. So linearly polarized, in only one direction the electric field vector is available always. Circular polarization means it is first vertical, then by angle it is changing, then it is becoming the horizontal, then the angle is changing, vertical, then angle is changing, horizontal, then again vertical. Here I have drawn it only one spot, but as time is going on, all these things will be happening in the space like this. Okay, at this moment if it is vertical, after a certain amount of time it will be here, but the direction is different. After a certain amount of time it will be here, but the direction is different. Like this, the space, if you take it only one distance, by taking z is equal to constant at only one plane, if you see, that is looking like a circle. That's why that is called, the trace of all the peaks is looking like a circle. That's why that is called circular polarization. And here elliptical polarization is also there, that is having major and minor. Okay, so we have seen polarization. Now the polarization diversity, this one already I told about this one, but I did not use the word diversity. Diversity means both should be available, like horizontal vertical, or vertical circular polarization, or horizontal circular polarization. Like that, if it is available, then we can tell polarization diversity is available. Next, cross polarization. Co-polarization, cross polarization, two things are there. Okay, desired polarization is the co-polarization, undesired polarization is the cross polarization, and always this co-polarization is perpendicular to the cross polarization. Okay, so you need the electric field in x direction only, but after designing the antenna you are getting the electric field in the y direction also, but you don't want that one, but it is existing, that is called cross polarization. So the cross polarized value should be less as compared to co-polarization, that already we know, but it must be lesser than the certain amount of range. Okay, then we can able to consider that particular antenna. Okay, then axial ratio. If you have this circular polarization, you should maintain the axial ratio should be less than 3 dB. Then we can able to consider up to what range, up to what frequency range the axial ratio of particular antenna is having is less than 3 dB. Then I can tell that particular range is called axial ratio bandwidth. For antennas, the bandwidth is differently. Okay, the bandwidth of the antenna is defined based upon the application. If you don't have circular polarization in your antenna, you no need to define this axial ratio bandwidth. But for every antenna, impedance bandwidth is defined. Impedance bandwidth is defined, that must be less than minus 10 dB. The range of frequencies over which the S11 plot is less than minus 10 dB. Then we can say that particular range of frequencies is impedance bandwidth. Here axial ratio bandwidth means if my antenna is CP antenna, circular polarization antenna, then the axial ratio must be less than 3 dB. Up to for what range of frequencies it is less than 3 dB, this condition is satisfied, then that range is said to be axial ratio bandwidth. Then circular polarization already I have discussed. Now cross polarization also I have told you about this one. You see these two. Here it is A direction, it is B direction, or AB vectors are there. Here cross polarization discrimination is available. Here cross polarization interference is available. Two things are considered in case of the cross polarization. So here A vector is there, that is received here. Okay, and same A vector is coming in the perpendicular direction of this receiving A direction also. Okay, here about B is not received here, or you assume here only A vector is there. Okay, electric field you can able to assume in the direction of A, but if you see at the receiver side, this is as it is we got here, there is no problem, it is okay, but we don't want A in this direction, in this particular direction, but here also we got that one. This is called cross polarization discrimination. We don't want this one, that's why first of all that is the cross polarization, and this A is required here. Okay, and same A is coming in the another direction also, that's why it is cross polar discrimination. And if you see the second case, A is required in this direction, vertically it is required, and B is required perpendicular to the board, like this it is there, but at the receiver side A and B both are available in the same direction. Okay, so it is also unwanted thing only, that's why it is called cross polarization, but here interference of the two components is occurring, that's why it is called cross polar interference. Okay, cross polarization itself is undesired thing. So with this we have completed antenna subsystems, and these are the quiz questions you can able to answer by listening this lecture. So explain about antenna system equipment, whatever I told you, total thing you can able to write here, and you need to write in such a way that the necessity of the antennas you need to write in the satellite communication. One thing you need to remember, for any wireless communications antennas are essential. Okay, so you should start with the block diagram where the transmitting antenna is connected to the transmitter as the last stage, and the receiving antenna is connected as the first stage of the receiver. Then you can able to start writing that answer. Then what are the cross polarization interference and cross polarization discrimination? These two things you can able to write by listening this lecture properly. Thank you.